because I do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups 4 times a week.
What's a dose? Can you translate for us?
Winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Ernie Els.
Welcome back to the Goats Track, everybody, the podcast about golf and golf adjacent stuff. Sitting here with my one and only guy, JDV. JDV, how are you this evening? Looking very dapper in that floral shirt of yours.
Yeah, T, it was either this or the pajama shirt. So I thought, for the let me do the, what are these things called? Tasty Monsters or what are they?
Delicious Monsters.
Delicious Monsters. Close enough.
Yeah. What are you sipping on there this evening? So you got a little bit of see-through vino. Talk us through it. What do you got?
I'm actually not sure, T. This is one that Kath poured me, so could be any number.
Yeah, I was teeing you up there to say it's a little Book and Hoats Cliff number, but Linton, sorry, Linton. I was doing my best there, but while we're talking about that, guys, it is the SA Open this weekend. Last year, we did a great little podcast with a chap called Linton Kaiser, who is the marketing manager, director. I'm not sure if I'm bestowing a title upon him that he doesn't have, but he's definitely involved in the marketing of wine at Book and Hoats Cliff, which is a lovely little winery and what do we call it? A collection of brands of some pretty well-known wines down in the Western Cape. And it is the SA Open this week at Stellenbosch. And we are going to be running another little flash deal with them, JDV, over the weekend. So, guys, what you're going to need to do to be part of that is you're going to need to join our WhatsApp community. So on Saturday, we're going to drop in the code that's going to get you a 20% discount, JDV, on any order of wine from Book and Hoats Cliff. And they really have got some cracking wines. You and I did a live wine tasting on that pod. What has been your favorite one of that collection that we had so far?
Look, I'm always partial to a chocolate block. Yeah, but the other ones have also been absolutely fantastic. I did use the promotion code and got myself some additional ones. And I think they age quite nicely. So I've still got some sitting here, which I've left to mature for a bit before I crack them open again.
I mean, just to give you an idea, they have a whole series of brands that people would be familiar with. Chocolate Block's obviously one of the more recognizable brands, which is obviously absolutely smashing wine. But they also run Porcupine Ridge is one of their wines under their brands. JDV, what was that? There was an absolutely delicious white wine which was part of that collection, which the name just escapes me now. I might get you to Cap Maritime. That was it.
That was awesome. They had
that Cap Maritime, the coastal, the Pinot Noir, and then also the Chardonnay. That coastal Chardonnay was a bit of a cracker as well. So, we will drop that, guys, onto our WhatsApp group. So if you want to find the WhatsApp group, just probably the easiest way is to go onto our Instagram. And there's a link directly on our Instagram profile. If you're not on Instagram, we'll work out a way to get it to you. I guess we'll put a link maybe in the podcast notes. Otherwise, on the website, actually, you can go to the gotrack.co.za and there is a link to join the WhatsApp community there. So, little golf and grapes set up this weekend for the SA Open in Stellenbosch. JDV, before we get onto the SA Open, we the last podcast you and I did, we posted a little video of a summary from that podcast, and there was a particular focus on the Handicap app mess /debacle. I think it's fair to say that that video has gone reasonably viral in our sense of the word. We would call it viral. It's not certainly not breaking any internet records, but for the Go Track, it's certainly been one of our most engaged with videos. I want to give you a couple minutes here to sort of to react to that. There were a lot of reactions, comments that were made on the video. I think 95% of them were pretty much in agreement with us, and from young and old, people who had similar experiences to you, people who are dismayed that the app has been changed, people who are dismayed that there was no testing done of the app. So I want to give you a little bit of space. Come climb back up on the soapbox here. Climb back up and give me your thoughts now that now that a week has passed since we put that out, and you've played a bit of golf between now and then and spent some time with golfers. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah.
Where are we sitting now with the app?
So, look, I mean, firstly, I think let's just premise it when I went on that rant. It was a couple of days after it was launched, and I think what maybe didn't come through in the Instagram video is that we did premise it in saying, guys, like, we understand that there's going to be fixes done and bugs and updates and the rest of it to address this. The main point being that those, the major issues that were present on the launch day should have been addressed leading up to it. So I'm still comfortable, with the take that I had to say it was a shit show when it was launched, and I think a lot of that shit show could have been avoided with some proper preparation. Obviously, they've had like three updates since it was launched, and it is slightly easier for those who've managed to download the app and to get it working. I have heard stories of people having to email angry emails with OTPs, and my dad said, spoiler alert, my dad's over 50, he said that he managed to get it downloaded by pure luck. When he got his PIN, just said forgot password a couple of times and managed to create a new one. So firstly, I'd say I wasn't shitting all over it to say it's always going to be cuck. I was trying to make the point that it is initially cuck. I don't think the cuckness has completely washed out of it yet. It's still pretty stinky. The thing is, it's still not really intuitive, and again, I do understand that, maybe it will take some getting used to, but we are used to hitting open round when we open the Handicaps app. And then when we enter a score, having the choice of hole by hole or adjusted gross or whatever the case is. And now you've got to sort of say, okay, we'll go to scorecards, create scorecard, then, at the end of it, you've got to decide whether or not you put in your adjusted gross or hole by hole. Interestingly, they said that South Africa was on some sort of an exemption from the RNA and sort of the World Golf Associations, that we didn't have to put in hole by hole. And it sounds like that's not going to be the case for much longer. If the emails from the HNA are to be believed, is that, we sort of the exception to the rule in guys putting in just like a score. Okay. So I think in the months or years to follow, we can look forward to everyone recording their stats as diligently as I do, or maybe not just the stats, but just your scores per hole as opposed to your adjusted gross. I think some of the other changes they made, I know that there was a lot of complaints about searching for players. That seems to have been fixed, although I still think it's difficult to do the player search. What they haven't been able to do, and what they said is still in the pipeline, is obviously the competition allowances, which is quite a big one, I think, and a no return option. I mean, again, if you're playing a match play and you've opened a round, or the club has opened a round for you, I don't know how you would close it without having to phone the club or email them to say, please put in a no return for me. So again, the no return option, they said always had to be verified anyway. It said, we'll soon add a dedicated no return button. Please note that as in the past, these will be reported to your club for verification to ensure handicap integrity. Firstly, I wasn't aware that when I plugged in no returns, which I often did when, you'd go play a twilight session, you wouldn't play a full 9 holes and you'd be hitting a couple of balls out there, and just scooping it where you can. I mean, it's one man. So I would always put a couple of no returns in there. So obviously I was being reported to the club frequently. But so, yeah, those 2 options, which I think are still major aspects to South African golf and handicaps, the competition allowance and your player handicap and the no return option are still not available. I think the other point I wanted to make is obviously I might have come across a bit disparaging about everyone over 50. I might have set the bar a bit low there, and I should have maybe said
might
60,
have been a bit ageist.
I was about to say, I think, I'm still got my head and feel like I could go back to varsity tomorrow, but I'm probably a lot closer. Well, not probably. I'm definitely a lot closer to 50 than I am to 20. So, yeah, maybe I should have pushed that out to 60. But I think the point still stands is that the vast majority of people playing golf are not necessarily the most tech savvy. Obviously there was one particular guy who was particularly incensed by the fact that I had managed to say that people over 50 couldn't work the tech, and then proceeded to say that, all the tech leaders are over 50. But what he failed to note was that the converse is not exactly true, that not everyone over 50 is in tech.
I think basically he was saying that there wouldn't be tech if it wasn't for the over 50s, JDV.
Yeah,
you'd be pushing a square wheel around. Let's be honest.
So yeah, that was quite fun. But yeah, I think for the most part, the guys are still struggling with the app. People are still struggling to adapt to when they can put rounds. And like I said, there's still that 2-hour buffer from, if after the round you press the wrong thing, and, they've created that enter score or enter an open round, but it's not right there on your dashboard. You've got to go to more and then find it and then put it in. And if you've created your scorecard at the end to try and put your score in, it's like, no, you've got to wait for 2 hours before you can put this in. So I've also heard some very funny stories about, it's difficult, so I don't know if it was on the record when I was told the story, but there were, at a bit of a country course, there were 2 guys who notoriously had pretty high handicaps and won all the competitions, and they went off the notorious, they didn't go off the 54. They didn't put their rounds in properly or something, and they had a bunch of penalty rounds and got taken from like a 22 to a 15 handicap. And the club's just like, we refuse to put you back to a 22. so they've jumped at the opportunity to do some handicaps adjustments without having to take the blame for saying, well, sorry, it's not our fault that your handicap is what it is. So I thought that was pretty hilarious.
JDV, I think just a couple of things there. Firstly, guys know that you're a well-known golf podcaster now in South Africa. If they're telling you a story, it's on the record until they say it's off the record. Okay, so guys, just be aware if you are regaling JDV with the tale, it's on the record unless you specifically state it's off the record.
It's fair game.
And then. Secondly, I think you massively under reporting how like incensed people are about this. Like I think you're being quite kind to saying that guys are still battling here and there, whatever. I think, since we put that video out, I've been amazed at how much engagement it's had and how many people commented on that video saying like honestly, taking this thing down at the knees, saying like, why did this need to change? This is the worst thing that's ever happened. Like a lot of F-bombs, a lot of guys just very sort of confused by sort of like the process of having to, the sign up process, and like just a simple thing like you would imagine that when you're trying to replicate, because you're not starting a new app here, you're actually trying to replicate an app. Why would you change the names of something like enter score? I mean, that enter score is the most logical name you can think of. And if it isn't, it's you should always go with the name that was previously used on an app. And now you're going, I mean, I would never have thought Create Scorecard was the place where I'm going to punch in my score. Now, I don't know if it's interesting what you're saying, that in South Africa, we traditionally have always just put scores in, and we should actually be putting in hole by hole scores. That's an interesting development, which will be another big adjustment for people, because I don't know how many people actually do hole by hole. But I would say it's still pretty early on with this whole handicap debacle, because I think you called it last week when you said, that you're on it. You're at a modern club, and you play a lot of golf. You're keeping an eye on it. Like, there's a lot of people like myself. I mean, I haven't played golf in 6 weeks, 7 weeks. People who aren't on it, who still haven't entered a score. I think we're still early in this whole debacle. So I'm going to be interested. I'm going to see Duran this weekend from Wonderpar down at the SA Open. So I'm going to be interested to get his takes on the whole app development debacle.
But that's it. So, I mean, again, like, guys who play 1 or 2 rounds a year, who've got their handicap at a Cathedral Peak or a Drac Gardens or one of the other virtual clubs. I mean, it's going to be, they're going to rock up and have their annual golf tour, and it's going to be a shit show. Everyone's going to have to be trying to download the app and figure it out. And look, I mean, the communication has been decent on the emails, but it's tough, because not everyone, gets an H&A email and opens it and reads it and clicks on the links to look at the tutorials. Guys normally see that come into your inbox and it's like red, or it doesn't even get to your inbox because it's already marked as, spam or whatever the case is. Again, I thought the other thing that I had to mention was that it wasn't from my discussions, it wasn't a case of, the handicaps network just saying, okay, well, we're just going to overhaul the system. They actually had to move, the software service provider across, because the previous service provider wasn't continuing with that app or with, that route. So they had to sort of latch on to someone else, which is why they went with this one that's used in Australia and by the RNA, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. So maybe but then someone said, in the comments of that Instagram video, but they've used the Australian one and it's like super easy to use and straightforward. So, maybe we need to sponsor a trip to Australia to go and have a look there and see what their app is like. But I think that the other thing I wanted to mention is that it's completely stuffed up my goals pod, because a lot of my goals were based on all these stats that I had on the last one, which must still be there. And, I know you're still putting in your stats, and you can in fact put more stats into this one than you could into the last one. But I don't know how to go back and access the previous stats that I had, where you can set the dates, parameters, and then pull out from there to say, okay, well, what were my stats? I could look at what like my par 3 scoring was. I could look at birdies and bogeys and missed left, missed right. So I don't know if all that data has been pulled across, or maybe, again, I'm not particularly tech savvy, so maybe it is there and I'm not sure how to access it. I've played around with the app and it's not massively intuitive, like I said, to be able to find that. So yeah, a lot of my goals, I'm just going to claim a win. I'm just going to say, hit them. You guys can't prove me wrong. Yet.
JDV, I think this is going to be a fixed item on our agenda for the next couple of months. So I'm gonna get us to leave it there. But I will try and.
We looked at it, 285 Rand or there and thereabouts. Let's call it 280 Rand is what was on our invoice last year as golfers. When we get you get your club affiliation, you pay your provincial subs or whatever the case is, your South African subs, and then there's an amount of about 280 Rand for the app. Now, that's before you've paid for, the add-on premium subscription, which again, I paid for, and then the app changed. So I'm not too sure what that premium subscription entitles me to now. I'm sure I'll figure it out with another email that comes through in due course. But yeah, if you times that by the number of registered golfers or affiliated golfers in South Africa, that's a lot of money. So I mean, again, we're not saying, out of the goodness of your heart and on your shoestring budget, we want you to create, some amazing user-friendly app. There's a lot of money here that could be thrown at this problem, and that's, I suppose, what makes it more frustrating, is that it's not a case of like, oh, there's no budgets and it's like a bunch of volunteers sitting on the board of an HOA who are volunteers and doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, and oaks are cucking all over them. This is actually, there's a lot of money and there's a lot of budget here for this, and I'm sure there's a paid service provider.
Okay, so developing story, we're going to put it on the shelf. But JDV, I think what I might do this weekend in Stellenbosch is just ask like general fans, do a couple of videos with fans asking what their opinions are, just to do a wider sample.
I want you to start off with, you're over 50, you're obviously not tech savvy. Have you managed to download the app?
God, I hope that guy's there. Hey? Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, we had one slightly negative comment out of about 40 comments that agreed with us, but it's amazing how you remember the negative.
Yeah,
one.
It's true. I mean, that was literally like.
But it was quite a rant as well. It was quite
passionate.
A reverse.
I loved the passion. I was tempted to start engaging and being like, love the passion.
Yeah.
Like, again, I think your logic's slightly flawed. I might have set the bar a bit low in terms of the age, but pick it apart.
I like how your fan club jumped to your rescue with Josh jumping in there.
Like council on brief.
Okay. Moving on, JDV. Before we get to the SA Open, obviously last week was the Durban Open at Durban Country Club, Johnson Workwear Durban Open. I mean, it's just unbelievable what happened to those poor bastards. I mean, but by all accounts, they had really prepped as hard as they could following the SA Open last year. And, you and I have both played there since then. We've been shown all the additional pumps and sumps and mounds and humps and, gullies that have been put in since the SA Open. JDV, I was there on Friday for about an hour and a half. I mean, it was looking beautiful. It was windy. It was hot. It was dry. I mean, the rough was... It was completely different to the SA Open, by the way. The rough was almost gone. I mean, I don't know if you remember the SA Open last year. They'd grown the rough up a lot. The rough was gone. The greens were really rolling nicely. And yeah, it was really looking magnificent. And I was really looking forward to a great weekend of golf. So much so, JDV, that on Friday evening I put out a Instagram reel doing like comparing 2025 to the little hour that I was on site on Friday. Anyway, woke up at 1:00 in the morning here in Salt Rock, and my goodness, we were having an absolute cyclone up here. I mean, it was raining sideways and heavy rain. And I thought, oh my word, what have I done? I've potentially jinxed this. And sure as nuts, woke up on Saturday morning. I had a couple of comments already from a few of the golfers saying, well done. You properly jinxed it. And then next thing we started seeing photos of the 16th hole underwater. And I thought, my goodness, surely this is from last year. Surely this is not from last night. But those poor bastards had another 100 mil rain event in 2 hours. And the course just couldn't handle it. Obviously, once again, they pulled out all the stops and got the course playable by Sunday. And, I went on Sunday with my son, and the course was actually looking great. I mean, look, the 16th hole was obviously brown and soggy, and the guys were playing ball in hand, which they were actually playing when I went on Friday, which I still don't fully understand why, but that's probably another issue. But on Sunday the course was looking great. But I just couldn't believe that those guys. I mean, there can be only one real reason for this, JDV, and I think you know where I'm going.
The floodplain and the stormwater infrastructure issues.
Yeah, it's a curse.
But no, so there's two aspects to that. The one is it's a curse. Also, Nick Johnson was on the feed, and he was having a bit of comments about it in that final round, saying, look, it wasn't a drainage issue on the course. It's not like that was a bunch of rain that had accumulated on the course. It had actually come from the road, which is the M4. I think that goes, which is, no, it's not the M4. What's the road that goes along the side?
NMR.
The NMR. And he said it was a stormwater issue from the municipality side.
It is.
I find it quite interesting that he, obviously, I think, called out the municipality sort of in public there, saying, this is your guys' problem that's affected this tournament, and impacted, because obviously you could see most of that flooding was on those holes that were adjacent to the NMR.
He's 100% right, but the fact is, it is what it is. The average person doesn't know that. JD, I have a theory, and I want to run this by you, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but I truly believe that there is a curse on Durban Country Club, and I think it comes down. I was thinking about it over the weekend, and I was thinking, what have these guys done to deserve this? And it suddenly came to me, JDV. It's one word, and that is beachwood. The beautiful links of beachwood, which, if people don't know, beachwood was a beautiful little link style course, probably 10 kilometers north of Durban Country Club, which had been there for, I don't know how old beachwood was, JDV, but a good...
Beachwood was Gary Player designed as well.
Yeah. Okay. Beachwood had been there for a long time. It was such a lovely little... sort of less, more of a open sort of club feel than Durban Country Club, which feels, a bit more private than that. Beachwood had a lovely local feel to it. And, JDV, we still have this in our episodes list to do, but Beachwood is now essentially no more. Beachwood was incorporated into Durban Country Club at one stage. And then Durban Country Club started running into some serious financial perils. And at that stage, the Durban Country Club actually owned the land, owned the golf course of Beachwood, whereas their own site at DCC is on a lease basis with the municipality. And what they did is they put up they put Beachwood up as collateral to raise some debt. They couldn't essentially got to a point where they couldn't meet those debt obligations down the road, and they had to hand over Beachwood to the beautiful sticky hands of some property developers. And I may be taking a shortcut to where we are now, JDV, and we can do a deep dive on it. But essentially, that process of that they followed has now resulted in Beachwood being developed as a property development, essentially closed as a golf course. I'm not sure if they still have some of those holes that are still operating as like a 9-hole golf course, but the course is no longer Beachwood. It's closed, and that is what is causing the curse of rain at DCC, JDV. I'm convinced.
So I'm trying to work out who's sending this rain. Who's most aggrieved? Is it the general public, or is it
the golfing gods?
Sorry, just to clarify, it was Sid and Jock Bruce who established the initial layout and a major revamp by Gary Player in 95.
Yeah, no, so Beachwood dates back to the 30s or 40s as far as 30s. I remember. Yeah. So it was a beautiful, proper little I mean, it wasn't a links, but it was like Durban Country Club. Rolling terrain in beautiful bush, beautiful, really nice greens. Short course, right next to the beach, right next to that little Virginia airport. I mean, it had so much character. And it's the golfing gods, JDV. And, that's why I said I put it on Instagram. I think Nick Johnson needs to get his son Gorma in, and they need to they need to get down on their hands and knees and ask for forgiveness for what they did to Beechwood. And I think that's going to be the only way they're going to be released from the curse that they currently find themselves in.
I feel like the floods should be hitting Beechwood, then not Durban Country Club. But
doesn't work like that. Comes back to the responsible party.
But T, we need to call out Oliver Becker, who did win the Johnson Open. Nice to see the South African come out on top there. It was looking pretty tight until about the 15th or 16th hole, and then he sort of ran away with it. Playing some good golf at the moment. I think he is like shit or champagne. So just to go, he's gone Western Australian Open first, Australian Open cut, Dunhill Champs T4, Afro-Asia Open cut, NT&T Pro-Am cut, Johnson Workwear first. So he's either top 5 or he's cut. It's like he's like, oh well, I'm not going to be a top 5, so might as well go home and chill. But he's moved to Australia now, so he's still coming back and sort of fulfilling some of the Sunshine Tour events, which is why he's playing. But yeah, I mean, he's playing. Yeah, I don't know whether to say he's playing good golf because I mean,
how old is he?
Top
JDV?
5s and 3 cuts. T was born in 1984, so you tell me. 11th of December.
Okay, so he's 41.
Okay, so you can
41.
use the new Handicap app. He's under 50.
He's probably loaded the new app. He's a streaky player, Oliver Becker. I mean, I think he's which may be worth something to look at this week with SA Open at Stellenbosch. And interestingly enough, as far as I remember, he was actually a member of Stellenbosch golf course. I think it's like one of his home courses. So that's something to keep your eye on. Just wanted to touch on one other thing from the Durban Open, JDV, was...
is that what we're calling it, the Durban Open, not the Johnson Workwear Open?
It's the Durban Open. That's okay. The new rebranded name. Yeah. Otherwise known as the Cursed Open. That 18th hole, JDV, is such a great tournament hole. And it was so entertaining sitting behind that green and sitting in the grandstand, just watching guys playing the 18th. The slopes that they've got next to that green. Look, a lot of guys are birding it, and it's almost like I would imagine that the average score was under par for that hole.
But more guys than it seemed were pumping it out of bounds or left and thick course. So, I mean, okay, make an eagle so you can get jump 2 spots or get in contention. Yeah. It's a great ending hole, eh?
So there's a lot of variety on that hole, and particularly where they had the pin on Sunday, it was like that front right pin next to that slope. The safe play there was guys taking a little bit less club, and they're ending up sort of in the hollow, like 20 meters short of the green. And then from there...
that bunker left short couldn't have been a terrible place to be either.
Yeah, but the problem is quite a few guys miss that bunker on the left.
Then you're in trouble because then you try.
And then you've got a variable lie. And if you miss the green on the right with that slope, I mean, I saw a few guys making 5s and 6s with some pretty ugly stuff around the greens there. So super cool hole. And then just another highlight for me, JDV, was taking Harrison, my son, to what is essentially his first golf tournament, because we went to the SA Open last year and it just poured with rain. But walking down the 18th hole with him, and we came to the 17th green, and we started walking down the 17th fairway, and he started like tapping my arm and just pointing at the 17th fairway, the big rumples and the big hollow in the 17th fairway. And he was like, oh my smoke. He was like, Dad, do they really have to play over that big hollow? And I was like, yeah, that's the fairway, boy. And he was like, his eyes are just like, this is the coolest, craziest thing I've ever seen. And I was like, yeah, welcome to Durban Country Club.
Yeah.
It's such when you see it through a kid's eyes, he was like, this is mind blowing. Yeah. So.
And was he super excited in the stands by the 18th?
Yeah, we sat behind the green. Look, he's not going to sit still in the stands for a long time. As long as like that half a Coke that he had lasted, that's about as long as we sat there. But we sat behind the green, and a couple of the players came past and gave him golf balls and golf gloves, and yeah, so definitely got a bit of a taste for what it's like. And it was also really quiet, to be honest. So it was the perfect intro for a kid at a golf tournament. JDV, we touched on it this week's the SA Open at Stellenbosch Golf Club. I think when it was announced for the SA Open to be at Stellenbosch, I think we were all a bit like, we're going from Durban Country Club to Stellenbosch GC. It's probably ranked. I mean, I don't know exactly where it sits, but it's probably sort of in the 30s or 40s as a golf course in South Africa. But by all accounts, it is doing its absolute utmost, and the tournament organizers and the sponsors, the people they've got involved to promote the tournaments, by all accounts, have done an amazing job at promoting the golf tournament, getting a good group of professionals and getting a good entry list. And, we just saw a notice today that they've completely sold out of tickets.
That's awesome.
For on-site. And that they're also putting on a huge show there with like a concert, I think on Friday or Saturday evening. Going to have a lot of people on the ground. You're in the middle of wine country. I mean, I'm actually low-key, I was super excited for the SA Open last year at DCC, because it's our local gem, but I'm kind of low-key excited for this weekend, I must say.
Are they going to not have the beer hole like they've got at Live, because they've got the concerts now? They're going to have like a wine hole where there's just a bunch of people drinking box wine and
Papsak, yeah. They're going to have a crack sock hole. There've been a few videos, and we had Tucky, who went down and played there a couple of weeks ago, and he gave us his report back. By all accounts, since then the superintendents haven't laid a lawnmower on the rough at all, because we got some videos yesterday from a few guys in the Pro-Am showing how thick the rough was, and I think today I saw about 3 videos from a few pro golfers doing the obligatory ball drop in the rough.
Ball. Find the thickest rough you can, drop it in there, and be like, tough week this week. It's
actually the rough behind the squash courts where they're standing, but like it doesn't matter, But it does look thick. So and I know they've lengthened that course quite a bit. They've been going on about how it's going to be a true test and a long test and that. So I don't know. What do you think? I mean, to me, I have played there. It was a little bit unmemorable, a bit of a sort of parklandish layout. The greens are not super challenging. So obviously they've grown the rough up for a bit of defense. But I mean, what are you thinking? Maybe just a bit of a bomb and gouge situation?
It's difficult for me to say anything about it. I also haven't played there yet. From what I've heard and from what you guys have said, I think probably did need to grow the rough if you want to protect par at all there. What Tucky was saying is that the guys were going there pretty stress-free under par. And it's not like, Durban where the wind is going to whip at this time of year. I think they're probably going to have pretty mint conditions. I don't know if you've checked the weather report for the coming days, but I imagine it'll be pretty benign, maybe quite hot. So I think the rough probably needed to be grown up. Certainly from the videos that they've put out, it looks beautiful. You're in the winelands in Stellenbosch. It's going to look beautiful. The surrounds. I'm intrigued to see how it plays and what the winning score is. I do think that probably the longer hitters have got the advantage with thick rough, just because if you're missing a fairway and you're short, it's going to be a more difficult task to get it to the green than if you miss a fairway and you're long. Yeah.
So the weather, JDV, the weather actually looks pretty crap, huh?
Oh, awesome! Like how?
So it's raining tomorrow. Friday looks okay, like sunny, but a little bit windy in the afternoon. And then Saturday is like drizzling with like a 25 to 30k an hour wind.
Okay, that sounds fun.
So it actually looks. Look, I was because I'm going down on Saturday. I was hoping
still
for
excited
like
to be walking around.
Yeah, I was hoping for like 30-degree weather and like a glass of Buchenholzcliff Chardonnay with Linton in the under the tree there. You know.
Well, look, you might still be having that, but in the hospitality,
might be the Shiraz. We might be moving on to the Shiraz or something. But and then Sunday looks like also not great, bro. It's like max 18 degrees. With like 20k an hour wind. So super stoked that I'm flying down for 2 days of like sub 20 degrees and drizzle.
Well, I'm super stoked that it's not going to be
Hillcrest for that.
Yeah, you could have. Well, I'm super stoked it's not going to be absolutely benign conditions. It's a national open. It's our national open. You don't want it to get a bit silly, like 20 odd under par. Keep it below 20. I'll be happy.
Yeah. So I think, we can move on to some picks here. I do think it's going to be, when I see that rough and I hear them lengthening and that, I do think that it's going to be a little bit of a bomber's paradise. And yeah, so that's how I kind of try to pick my Golf Champs team this week, JDV. And firstly, and I don't know how we didn't lead the show with this, JDV, but our guy who we said great things about when we first launched this podcast. I think he was still an amateur golfer back then, but we went and watched him at Glendower a couple of years ago. JDV, our beautiful boy Casey Jarvis got the W. Yeah. Finally got it done at the Magical Kenya Open. And yeah, so well done to him. We've always had a lot of fun watching him play golf. He's a streaky player, but he's a very entertaining player to watch. Wears his heart on his sleeve, and I truly hope that he can continue some form into the SA Open, because I think he's got the right sort of game. He's a long hitter, aggressive player. So he's one of my picks, JDV. I've put him in my Golf Champs team. I've got Casey Jarvis. He is ranked number 9. I'll run you through the rest of my team, JDV. Yeah. I have picked Angel Ayora. He is ranked number 5. Super talented Spanish golfer. He, as far as I remember, he came second last week, or he was in the top 5 up in the Magical Kenyan Open. And then JDV, I've gone with Brandon Grace.
Also got him.
Okay, you do. Yeah, I think I mentioned this when we did the podcast, and I spoke about, doing the interview with the Live guys and that a couple of weeks ago. I asked Brandon Grace in that interview, I asked him sort of what had been holding him back last year, because at the end of last year, he suddenly came into form. And he said that it had essentially he'd been injured for like most of the year. And then he was finally sort of over his injury. And I mean, if you look at his results, JDV, he has had in his last, we're taking Live into account here, but he has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 top 10s in his last 8 events. Of course, these are Live events. There is the Alfred Dunhill Championship in there as well. But, I mean, he's definitely in form. and I think he's the sort of guy who will get up for an SA Open. And then I've got MJ Daffy.
Yeah,
cool. He won the tournament at Fan Courts a couple of weeks ago. I mean, super talented golfer. Also hits at a mile. I was amazed how far he was hitting it at Fan Courts, and obviously in form. So that's my squad. That the rank is actually 169 because amazingly, MJ Daffy is at Daffy. What are we saying? Is it Daffy?
Defoe?
Daffy. I think it's Daffy, yeah.
I'm happy with Daffy.
Anyway, his rank is 90 on Golf Champs, which feels
it's tough.
Like an error.
There's some weird ones. Well, I mean, firstly, you've got Ernie Elsey at 135. I mean, there's only 140 ranks, and he's 135 out of 140. So that seems a bit disrespectful.
Do you think Ernie's there to make the weekend? Look, Ernie played pretty well at Fan Courts, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, Ernie probably shows up at one of these things and makes the weekend easily. I mean, I'm sure he'll be drinking a lot of wine at his winery, which is probably no more than a driver 8-iron away from
very close.
The golf course gates. So I'm sure he'll be spending some time there. But
this is it's a sneaky good field. I mean, I'm just looking at some of the players here. So I mean, I've gone Patrick Reed. I've picked him. I mean, I think he's going to eat this up.
I think so.
I do think so. I think he's going to child this. So
he's not very long though. That's the only reason I didn't pick him.
He's so good at the moment, T.
Yeah.
Then I had to go the man that winks at you, Dan Bradbury. So I've picked him, which I don't think is a terrible pick. I've gone Big Dean Burmester, and I've gone Brandon Grace. And surprisingly, I've got a unique entry with those three. Or those four. I think there's some good players, especially down the bottom. I mean, a lot of the very well-known players are sort of sitting, down at the bottom. I'm looking at players like Justin Harding, rank 118. Oki Stradum was like all over it at one stage. He's 125. George Coetzee, 105. Louis Albertser, 106. Jovan Rabula, 100. So you've got a lot of like good names that are sitting around the 100 mark. So you could go one of those guys and then just pick, three of the top 10. I think it's quite an open field with this SA Open Golf Champs picks. It actually makes it quite nice because I don't think your total rank is going to be hugely important. I mean, it's not like the other ones where you're like scraping to get to 100. It's basically, pick one of the decent names that are between 70 and 140 and then, pick whoever you want.
JDV, I saw a post earlier of the last time the SA Open was played at Stellenbosch was in 1999. I don't know if you saw that post.
No.
Any guess who the winner was?
Ineos.
So it was David Frost, and he won at 5 under. So the course played tough. There were two other names which stood out to me they shared a leaderboard from the top 5. I think it was the top 5 or top 6 or 7 from that weekend. But Ernie was up there. He was, I think, 4th or 5th. And Henny Otto. Now, Henny Otto is actually in the field this week as well. So, I mean, that is a hell of a shout out to, Ernie, obviously legend, but a guy like Henny Otto, 27 years later, playing in the SA Open. I'd love to know how many SA Opens Henny Otto has actually played in.
That's pretty awesome.
Because that's a hell of a thing. I mean, that must have been pretty early on. Did Henny Otto not win one at one stage?
Tell you now.
Yes, this is where we need Hoff. Hoff would have that.
I don't know
Hoff
if he
have
would.
that.
He would tell you who he's sponsored by, but I'm not sure if he's pulling the man's criteria. So his major highlights, he won the 2011 SA Open,
There we
two-time
go.
winner of the Italian Open, achieved a career high world ranking of 73 in 2008, and finished T10 at the 2003 Open Championship after leading the first round. Yeah, so pretty epic. Turned professional in 1998. So when did you say the Stellenbosch one was?
99.
Okay, so the second.
So I've got him here. His first SA Open was 97, JDV. Maybe he was playing as an amateur, and he finished T16th in his first SA Open.
Look, I mean, Cape Town Open came second after a playoff. The Pro-Am finished 9th. I mean, that's not. Yeah, he's certainly not like. And also ran in this thing. I think he's still got form.
He's just had 3 top 10s in a row. JDV, can I give you the best stats about Henny Otto?
Yes.
He's 4 months shy of his 50th birthday, so he'll definitely know how to load the new HNO Handicap app. his 50th is coming up in June.
But I've got another question though. When he turns 50, does he become a leader of tech industry?
Tech. He may very well become one. Yeah. No, that's incredible. Like there's no other sport where you can have like a career like that. I wonder when Ernie's first SA Open was. I mean, yeah, we'd have to go into the archives here, but who do you think has probably played the most SA Opens? Do you think it's probably someone like
Gary Blair,
Dennis Hutchinson, or one of those guys from that sort of era?
Some random, maybe some other random person who is maybe not as notable. He won his first South African Open in 1992. Turned pro in 89.
Ernie.
Yeah.
JDV, I think I want to bet Henny Otto to make the cut this weekend. Hey? What about that?
We have to have. Okay, let's round it off here, and I think we always round it off in a good fashion. Ernie Els versus Henny Otto at the SA Open for a bottle of wine. I'll give you the pick.
Oh, that's a tough one, eh?
Especially after we've just spoken up Henny Otto's form.
So I get to choose.
Yes.
Which one? I just think Ernie's going to be on the piss this weekend. Hey? I think Henny's still a true out-and-out professional. I think Ernie's going to have a lot of press and stuff to do. A lot of
media attention.
Lot of wine. I'm going to, if you're offering it to me, I'm going to take Henny Otto over Ernie.
All right, T. Bottle of wine on it. T has picked Henny Otto to beat Ernie Els at the SA Open. And the choice was his. That wasn't a default choice.
Suddenly, when you put it like that, it sounds a little bit ridiculous.
It's too late. It's locked in. You touched the chess piece.
It's locked in, yeah. Okay, great. But I'm still going to go and find some odds on Henny to make the cut as well, because I want something to believe in for Friday.
Well, look, maybe take that bet and then buy my wine with the money if he makes the cut and still loses to Ernie Els.
Yeah. Well, JDV, I'll certainly have some wine potentially for you, and I'm sure you will for me as well, because we are going to be definitely taking advantage of that Book and Hoatscliff 20% discount. So guys, jump onto that. We will drop that into our WhatsApp group community on Saturday sometime. I'll put that info in there, and really looking forward to the weekend. So if you are at the SA Open and you spot me in my yellow goat track hat, keeping the pissing rain out, come and say how's it. But I'm looking forward to JDV regardless of the weather. It should be a good couple of days. Any parting thoughts from your side?
No, T, none at all. I just want to obviously send lots of photos. A couple of voice notes will be good. And let us know what it's like out there. Very jealous. Okay. I think it's going to be awesome. SA Open is great. And I mean, I think what I do like, I suppose, as a parting thought, is that I almost feel like I'm getting more excited for the SA Open than the Nedbank, the $1 million, which I think is what it should be. I mean, you should be more excited for your Open.
I think it's super cool that, and look, I really hope the weather somehow clears up, because I really think it's super cool that they're moving the SA Open around the country again, and they're not stuck at like the same Joburg courses for a long period of time. I think it will go back to Joburg, and when it does, there'll be good crowds. But there's something cool about the scarcity of maybe only ever having it in your city every 3 or 4 years, and hopefully it's a good weekend. And I think lastly, just another shout out, JDV, to all the handicap, the guys, doing the back end of the handicap system and dealing with the hundreds of emails.
All the club pros out there.
Yeah, shout out to all those club pros, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. You're probably listening to this while you're deleting old Villy's score.
His fifth email that he's cacking on you in all caps.
Yeah. And when Club Champs comes around, there's going to be some serious cuck when Oaks are in the wrong divisions. And my goodness, it's going to be interesting. All right, with that, let the pod end. Thanks, JDV.
Legacy, thanks very much.